Well, hello people, and welcome back to part 10 of Illium, our modded CS1 build. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Last episode, our wonderful monorail student town embedded fantastically well against the edge of the university. And today, the monorail will be coming into a new district, the nightlife on this little peninsula that we have next door. Got lots of fun in store today with the intersection marking tool and pedestrian roads, plus lots of nightlife districts available as well. Hotels will also feature, alongside a really luxury marina, which should be the highlight of today's episode, I think. Either way, a happy Monday, everyone. Welcome back to Illium. First of all, with our terrain here, always important when we work with water, because I don't want the keys to be too far from the water line. So I think maybe, what we at there, I'd say 3 or 4 contour lines out once the water's not going insane. I think I'll be happy with that. Maybe one higher, actually. Yeah, let's go for that. Give ourselves a bit of breathing room. Now, we don't want to push this all the way up to the edge of the road. We'll definitely slope it. But at least for the marina and the waterfront, I want it to maintain the natural shape, whilst just being slightly lower on the terrain. I think I'll take this whole little peninsula, if you can call it that, to that same height as well. Do it once that's in. We will probably slope it again, but a little bit of soften should do the job for us right now. We'll have some slope to play with here. In terms of the road structure, we'll obviously move these recycling centres, but I want to work on the waterfront first. I'll tell you what, actually, let's make sure we also factor in the monorail. So the marina's going to be in this little alcove, maybe you can call it. Not sure what the geological term is. And then 180 degrees, I just want this to wrap right across this marina, possibly ending up right back there. So that'll come right across. The boats will have to avoid the pillars. Might even remove a few of the pillars. Not sure if, I guess the support police will flag us up for this. But maybe every 2 we'll delete them. Just select them with move it and then hit the delete icon and it'll be fine. Fantastic. And with our road, I want the whole waterfront indeed to be pedestrian. I think tree lined is the most appropriate. And for some reason sandstone speaks to me as well. So we'll start this from just underneath the monorail and take it somewhat circular. I don't want the whole thing to be on an angle. Happy to have some bends and little bumps in there. If you are doing this vanilla, I would advise that you keep it straight. It'll make your zoning a lot easier. But if you have to move it, this shouldn't be a problem. And then we'll bring this down to the waterfront, create a bit of a party viewpoint there or something for the boats coming in and out. And this will carry on, I imagine, probably to here, at which point we'll extend this road. This isn't a key arterial system, is it? No, this one's just regular, really. Cool. And then something can go up here. Likely we'll hide our recycling centres and service points over this way. Bit of a waterside administration area, if you like. So with all that in, with move it, I now want to grab my picker just to get the pedestrian road. Then with our marquee tool, we can now grab all of those. And then I'll set it to the same height. Nice and uniform, Control and H. This node here, the whole thing will balance out. And then everyone's very happy. And then I'm just going to pull this land back a little bit. And then we'll have some wonderful execution of network multi-tool here to install our keys. So we'll come to it. I'm going to use the content creator ones. Let's do this one. Simple city key. And then network multi-tools parallel mode is what I want. And we'll start that from here to here. We want to hit tab to get to the other side. And then our minus and plus keys here bring us to where we want. So probably line it up here. Just so it's touching the road. And that'll be touching on all sides. When we're happy, we can hit enter. And then that key lines immediately all our roads. We might get some awkward segments here. You can see where the key is inverted. It's just because this land isn't happy enough, but that's okay. We can just draw that back in. Set those nodes again to the same height as the road. Yeah, it's usually where the land is a bit too far away. That's where it happens. But that's okay, just a simple redraw up to road guideline will fix it. So I'll do this all the way around. So we'll also go for a tree lined. I think the vibe for nightlife entertainment has to be a palm, doesn't it? Bring all this in. Might have to reduce a single segment down there so it doesn't, although it's actually come perfectly through the monorail, which is good. But I can't have that there, so we'll have this section as roady, I think. And it's not aligned there, so it doesn't really matter too much. Awesome. So I'll get all these little dirt mounds against the keys tidied up, and then we can begin to form our marina. Okay, so for the marina aesthetic, I'm going to use the European pedestrian bridge. We could also use American pedestrian bridge here. It's under the water. Let's have a little look at it here, decide which one we want to go for. So I think we could possibly use both of them. Maybe this one as the outer key and then these to hold the boats. So I'm going to do this with the network multi-tool again. Exactly the same process with parallel mode, but this time I'm grabbing the nodes of the keys. Now I do want it to go all the way, probably not all the way around actually. Maybe there. Again, we'll switch it with tab. Then a plus and minus will pull that closer toward our key. How close I want it. You could have it touching. It does look very flush, doesn't it? Yes, I think I like that. I might take it further around. I guess we'll see what happens. Can always be amended in the Detaling Time-lapse. Then off of each of these nodes, let's set up a rule here. So we'll come up at least a little bit. Of course, the nodes will be crazy high. And let's go with a length of 9. Of course, don't forget, node down to the same height. And then I'll try to do different shape marinas every time. We'll do a little stretch. So if we've gone for 8 on there, let's do 4 on the sides. They pull the terrain up with them there, don't they? I wonder why that is. Maybe because I've set them as single ground pieces. That's probably why that's happening. I'm just going to hit home, literally the home button, which brings you back up from the ground on every measurement. There you go. I think it's because I was pulling them down to the earth, so don't do that. Cool. We'll also go a little bit mad while we've just done all that terraforming. But at this point, you can see we have the visual of a pier, which is very nice, isn't it? Really cool. They won't walk on it, I don't think, because it's not connected. So I do wonder if I could be a little bit cheeky and bring this across. Just to about there. Now that should allow them to walk on that. We'll obviously do a few of them so they can get back on 2. But now we have a 3-layered network design, right? Now you're probably thinking, egg, this looks like a marina, but there's no boats. Indeed there isn't. However, if you do have the hotels DLC, we will throw up a filter for this. So we want sub-buildings, and then we can search for boat. And with the hotels DLC, you get a number of small boatcraft that can be placed in a marina. Okay? So if you have Find It, this alone kind of makes the hotels DLC worth getting, to be honest. We'll have a couple here. And you can mix and match them and have tons of fun with marinas without having to dip into the workshop for custom boat assets, which of course is no problem. But they are available via official assets. But again, they do have, or you have to have, the hotels and retreats DLC, okay? So there you go. It's pretty cool. Very similar trick can also be used in Cities 2, using the pathways and the cut and fill system in that game. But, a few light mods. You don't need network multi-tool to do that, but it does help a little bit. So I think that'll be the general proof of concept there with our marina. And now we just need roads to come into it. So, little recycling centre people, you just come and chill out over here. We do have quite a bit of industry demand, so I wouldn't mind perhaps including a bit of industrial evolution over here. So we can satisfy that. So we're not quite ready for another industrial site. We could increase processing and jobs, of course, in the forestry. We left this open to be quite modular to satisfy that industrial demand. But again, this interchange is still just about at its limits. It's still extremely busy. But more traffic isn't really ideal for what I want to do. In terms of a faster access for them, this terrain's way too gnarly to bring another road up. I wouldn't mind having it accessible from this, because this is National Road, but it's a long way round because it's so switchbacky and there doesn't appear to be anyone even using it. No, they're not, are they? They're all staying on the highway. It's definitely the faster route for them, of course. But I guess we could hook it into that one day. Little access route up here. But some industry, regardless, is needed in some form today. So let's address our road hierarchy here. This road here is important arterial. No, it's not. This one is. And I think we'll go with a wider road here. I want the streets to be quite wide here. You imagine there's going to be a lot of pedestrians. Obviously monorail as well, of course, buses. So I think I want the road to reflect that. So we'll come in, we could use the after dark road here, you know, with the bus and taxi system as well. It does give us 4 lanes. Okay, we're going to use that one. But before we do that, I just want to give all this one last master soften and even slope it up from the marina in some places. We will be having buildings on the marina, so the terrain will be pushed down by those eventually. Just want to make sure our roads can accept some fairly sensible terrain here. Cool, so these are after dark roads. We will also be using the after dark DLC a lot today. And I want this to come out by 10. I'm just going to swing around to cross over here. And then it will carry on because this is going to continue to be low density residential out here once we come to build our massive park areas up this space. So I think that's where that road is going to go. There is space for it here. Just a quick thank you as well, everyone, quite early on in the video. Just to say a quick thanks for all the support on Illium. It's so nice to see so many thousands of you looking forward and enjoying this series every Monday, so that really spurs me on to create it. So thanks for all the kind comments there. They don't go unnoticed, I assure you. Okay, so just following some of the natural terrain there with the arterial road. This might not stay this fancy kind of nightlife road all the way down, I suppose we'll see. And then here, now what we're going to do with the monorail station here, this is quite interesting. There's probably some nice opportunities. I did mention a hub last episode, but this is not built for this area. There's no trains over here, so we can't really use that. I think it's likely to just be a regular station, isn't it? Monorail tram hub with road. Trams aren't down here either. Trams are the other side, aren't they? I had no plans to bring trams over here. Alright, it's just... it's gonna be a regular one, isn't it? That's okay. Alright. We'll have it here. Let's redraw this segment fairly close to the water. And then a lot of immediate accessibility back to that nightlife waterfront too. Should be gradually going downhill here, which I'm not particularly averse to. And then we'll just reconnect these guys in. And then this monorail friend will run all the way through here. Pretty much on a straight trajectory. Eventually terminating at this fun park that's up here. It probably won't maintain that trajectory, because that's a little bit insane. I don't know, is that cool or is that too much? It's very, very noticeable, isn't it? I'm not sure. I'll leave that in there. Let me know in the comments below if you're up for the gradient monorail line. Right, and then we can move into a bit of a road time-lapse now. Just hooking together our pedestrian roads to actual road and expanding the district around this side as well. I have to say, everyone, just as a side point here, I'm really enjoying Illium's road network. I'm getting lots of little curves and angles and great road planning here. But enjoy my own work for a second if I'm allowed. Cool. So now we have our marina set up. We got roads able to hold buildings here now. Some of this is probably zonable, but because I want to mix the themes, I'm probably not going to set up a district style, but this will have a district name at least. And this will be named after our wonderful Tier 2 patron, Sapphire, with Sapphire Marina, which I think is a great name for a little waterfront district, isn't it? So returning to said waterfront, there's already people walking down it here as well, fantastic news. So what I do want to do actually before we do what we're about to do, is just add in that second connection on the marina roads. So they can actually connect to it. We'll have one there, and then we'll have another one, say, here as well. Some slight fence clipping, but you can pretend it's a vault. They have to jump over it, right? A little bit of cardio. Never hurt anyone. So with our road, sandstone is very nice, but there's a lot of wood around here, and I think that's the aesthetic I'm going to prefer to run with. So with the wonderful and powerful intersection marking tool, we can set up a filler here. So on our draw filler, we do by holding Alt into all of these little corners. There we go. Okay, that gives us lines, which isn't what we want. Instead, what we do want is a decal. Now, there's a few of them to choose from here. Most of them come with the DLC. We could try zoo ground tiles. That's kind of like a tile, isn't it? Where it doesn't clip, we can hold control here and drag the point up to the edge, so it does become flush with the entire road. And then what this will do is give us the aesthetic, well, a totally different type of pedestrian road, really, is what it does. There's a few different choices here. You can go super extravagant if you want with some of the plazas and promenades tiles. There's stone. Sandstone pavers is already on the road, of course. But honestly, I think I'm pretty happy with the zoo tiles. It's giving me that darker theme that I want. Okay. So, do this if you like. It's not a massive point, but once we have it, we can copy the whole segment. Paste it in. Say, yes please. I guess actually we could also just do apply to the whole street. And then it'll bring it up there. It won't mark your sections, your intersections rather. You have to do them a bit separately. You can also get a bit of jank where we've also got some node controller fun going on, but I'll sort that off camera because it can be a bit tedious. But you can see the aesthetic it gives. I really like the zoo tiles on here. So I think I went with zoo. I think I'm pretty happy with that, to be honest. But cool. So let's bring in our first buildings. So first of all, we'll do services, and then we'll get all the nightlife zoning around it. So I've spoken before how much I hate the mechanic that comes with the hotels DLC. As an example, the Mountain Lodge, one of the later ones, whichever one it is, this one here, wants to be near shopping and office, which makes absolutely 0 sense. So I'm not going to pay too much attention to the hotels mechanic. We do have to an extent because to unlock the rest of them, we need the weekly profit. But otherwise, don't worry too much about where I'm placing hotels. You can lean into it if you like, but for me, it's a bit of a pain, really. I'm not a massive lover of it. We'll have another hotel over here, and then we'll do another budget one a bit further down as well. Super. First of all, our nightlife commercial. There's not an awful lot in here. And I'm just going to place a fairly random collection, respecting corners, of course, where we find them. All these different bars. Don't forget tourism as well. We'll jump into this tab. And start placing some of our nicer zoned hotels here. Not that the hotels DLC assets aren't nice, I just really not a fan of the mechanic that comes with them, really. And vanilla and wall-to-wall will also work really nicely here. Where we have some office demand, I really wouldn't mind, I think, some of the larger wall-to-wall buildings in. Maybe even some different orientations. We can get some nice little courtyards there, can't we, with that? I'm happy for a little bit of height here. Wouldn't even mind. Let's just test this. This is probably going to be a no-go. But there's possibility, I think, here for a skyscrapers pack to appear. one of the smaller assets. Just as a bit of a waterfront plaza. I'm going to place one of them. It is quite significantly taller than the rest of the hotels around it, isn't it? I don't know. I think I do like it. There's going to be more height around here as well, isn't there, with all the hotels here, I think. Okay, I'm going to go with that then. This could be a touch controversial. Let me just double check we've probably got the best tower there. That one's a bit smaller. I think I might go with that one instead then. Okay. So let's bring this. I want to bring it so it's just about connected, which seems to be there. And we can also see those terrain layers beginning to appear now. It's only a contour line or two though, so it's nothing too horrendous. Let's bring this into the middle a little bit. And then I love two plazas either side of this, and I think I know the ones I want to use. Which we don't actually have unlocked yet because we need sell land value in a pedestrian area. We're very close to that. Okay. We can probably cheese that milestone immediately. It's sell value in a pedestrian area, so these guys want more land value. Let me see if I can just give you a tiny little police office, probably from the Korea one. Yeah, let me put that there. That should increase your land value quite a bit. That took it up by 1, okay. Another one, will that do you? Oh, interesting, that's actually taking it down points, isn't that weird? Just fell by 4. And again. Okay, that's fine then. I won't dwell too long on that. We will just wait for it to unlock naturally. I'll use a different plaza. Which we might actually be able to get here, because we do need the pedestrian point, don't we? So we'll put our service point here on this awkward corner, using that to blend it all in. And we'll push this out again. Pedestrian districts are charged based on their size, so you only really want it where you're going to have those buildings in. So something like that for me. Rest of the roads around it are all road, of course. And then let's go on a bit of a plopping time-lapse then. Now we have our concept down, and fill out our marina waterfront here. So everyone get ready to enjoy this aesthetic over and over again, which looks incredibly modern, doesn't it? This is really what I was hoping for, leaning into all this monorail infrastructure. Brilliant. Super, so there's a whole different mix of things here. We've got office, high and low density commercial, hotels, tons of nightlife and leisure stuff. Fortunately after that DLC, pretty nice blending. Some fusings there as well. And lots of different styles of building here. And there's that monorail. Let's get a view from the marina, shall we? Hold on, actually, let's check this out at night time. Oh, isn't that awesome? I think we'll get some of the after dark lights on the monorail. That's gonna look so cool when this is done. Absolutely awesome, everyone. Absolutely awesome. Cool. So with our marina taking shape, the outside I think I want to fill with mid-century modern housing. I think that's going to be the play. Over here we do have a lighthouse over here, which is just out of our remit, but move it will dictate otherwise. I'll have to detail that across the tile boundary. Well, you won't actually go there, will you? Let's have to leave that for another day then. It's literally just out, isn't it? What a shame. Yeah, cool. So let's turn our attention back towards our monorail system here. Like I said, I'm happy for some zoning to appear. And all this looks fairly zonable, doesn't it? We'll have a bit of that in. Let's also get some office growing in here too with the commercial. Big space for work, kind of play vibes up here as well, right? Where everyone from downtown Illium comes after a crap day at work if they want some good times, for a drink, hang out with some friends, get laid maybe. This is where it all happens, right? Right. And I mean laid as in laying an egg, not the way you're all thinking. Of course. Cool, so we also mentioned buses over here, which will definitely feature because we have this big bus road. So let's get one of those running. We will, of course, have our bus hub over here. Now, I don't think there's a need. I'm going to keep these routes running the way they're already going. This will be a brand new bus line. And we'll keep working it out from here. So I want you to head. Yeah, you can come down here. That's fine. Stop on the main road. And then we'll do it every... don't really want to stop there. I'll stop here. And then every other block, pretty much all the way down there. We'll of course add more once a suburb down there exists. I would love it to come off a little bit here, definitely stopping out front of the monorail. You of course, I wouldn't mind actually just looping you through here as well, you know, turning around to stop at the foot of this skyscraper plaza. And then finding a way back. We'll probably stop out the front of the monorail again. And then it can just mirror its way back home. There's probably no need for it to stop again there. Where's your best route home? Which way do you want to go? Down here? That's fine then. We'll add another stop there. That can go in. Again, let's keep on top of these lines. That is Waisala to Sapphire Marina. I'll probably reduce this bus size down as well. Something a bit of a party bus, maybe the old English style double-decker. The old London bus. Maybe that'd be quite cool on the waterfront. Almost like the bus itself is a bit of a tourist attraction, right? We could also do some sightseeing tours around here. I suppose we'll see. Did the hotels match their criteria? No, you want a bit more office space behind you, don't you? But that's okay, that should come in once these guys begin to level up. I'll be happy with that. Now, in terms of this side of the waterfront, I don't want to do loads with it. We could come in and paint some sand and have it as a bit of a beach. I wouldn't be totally against that. Not all the way up to the road, though. Quite like a little bit of a grassy boundary, I think. This is the extra landscaping tools that allows you to paint sand like this, if you're wondering. I think just a bit of a beach like that is something I quite like. Then I almost think with that little lip we've got out the back of the monorail station, this is probably where I'd like to bring in a little bit of retaining wall, I think. Just to sit around the back like that. I'm going to grab both of these nodes and set them to the same height as that building. And then just use them to retain in. You might be able to do this in vanilla if you play with your shoreline a little bit first. But otherwise, if you see me doing, I think, retaining wall stuff, that would be very hard without anarchy. In vanilla players, I would advise you just use a rock wall. You will save yourself an incredible amount of time and pain by doing it that way. Yeah, pretty subtle difference, but it's just some nicer foundation, isn't it? I'm sure the Subsidence police will be pleased with that one. And then with this, we'll just turn it into nice walkable beachfront. We'll get some parasols and umbrellas down here in our detailing. Send that up there. And then just let this little dirt path essentially roughly follow the edge of the sand up to the lighthouse pathway. And then we'll hook that in at every intersection along here. It can't be a nice, wonderful tropical beach, I don't think, without some happier palm or coconut palms down the beach. Because we really missed out on this aesthetic in Rannoch because it was just so cold and kind of frosty boreal. Doesn't really suit the sandy beach vibe, does it? So just some happier palms. No need to overdo it, I don't think. Try and vary them up a bit. Cool. Look at all these monorail people coming in. Hello. You were walking down for a night out, are you? Yep, looks that way. Really love this particular corner here. Quite similar to the one we did last episode, actually, with the emerging downtown stuff. Cool. A lot of this basic zone stuff, I'm happy to keep in. I'll probably do a quick false historical building on all. Saves me doing it all manually then. Now let's definitely bring in some more office space here to please our industry demand and our hotel at the same time. So we're also getting a little bit of terrain tear in here, which is fine. We knew this would happen with the terrain. But I think rather than hide this with a retaining wall or something else, I'm actually just going to do a bit of a tree barrier between what will be the residential and all this stuff. So then it's just, we'll also reduce the noise pollution because this is going to be a loud area. There's quite a lot of nightlife here. And then thus by doing that, we'll also just decrease noise pollution. There'll be no residential over here, so we don't need to do it this side. But other than that, it should be fine. So with the residential, I did mention mid-century modern. I think we'll bring it up to here before the next build kicks in. Also wouldn't mind, you know, just feeding that through directly there. Yeah, I think I'll do that. But yeah, maybe actually using this as an extension of Green Cities as opposed to going mid-century modern, just because we've already got it here. I feel like it's probably the best residential aesthetic, isn't it? I think I will do that. This will still remain Sapphire Marina, but I'm just going to steal that little bit of suburb of where all the residential will lie. So this can become Green Cities. And likely this entire suburb up here, once it exists, will also remain Green Cities. Cool. So let's get these guys zoning in. I'd actually really love some high density Green Cities residential. Maybe on this road actually, here, on the main road. That'll be fine, obviously if you can't zone there. And then I'll keep maybe these first blocks here free just for traffic purposes. And then bring in some more residential structure around here as well. Cool. So that should all begin to grow in at least, giving us some outer-lying suburbia from our little district here. So we've got a few repetitive assets coming in. We'll let a few of them change and level up and whatnot. Cool. So all this area is coming together now. Let's have a little look at our industry here. I think in terms of the alignment for our recycling centres, let's prioritise these first of all. I wouldn't mind them kind of just sat against this main entrance road, really. I don't want the connection there. It's way too small onto a main road. It'll just be too busy. Yeah, I think more here is what I'm after. This way our recycling centres will back on the main road, giving a little glimpse of industry as you walk past. Bring that third one back in as well. Cool. And then we can hook this in. Did mention some industrial evolution. I think I'll probably plop, but you could quite easily zone this, to be honest. And then our service point, you definitely want to be front and center. Let's bring you down to the same height as this node over here. And then we'll just see if we can find a little happy spot where you're connected. And the terrain here I think is going to present a bit of a challenge. But that's what makes it fun, isn't it? Might use some rocks or something there, maybe create a bit of overgrown industrial wasteland. Just to accommodate what is going to be a bit of an awkward shape here. I'm not going to put the concrete texture up the cliff. I'll save that for some secondary detailing. Concrete footprint out of the service point. Again, you can use prop fencing. I'm just going to go ahead and use network oil. Just to box in the perimeter of our service point here. Create ourselves... Actually, I guess the gate's already on the front of the point, isn't it? So it doesn't really need a secondary entrance. Just bring that straight in like that. Fantastic. And then let's come down into our industrial evolution ploppables. In terms of the vibe, I don't know, let me have a little check here. Let's place one of the more modern units down and then one of the brick. I think I'm after more kind of modern manufacturing units rather than old school industry in this particular area. I'm not sure. Maybe I don't mind a little bit of old school. Perhaps a little bit of both, maybe. I'd also like to extend the detailing at the back of these assets up against that highway road. Which I think actually, as much as the focus is on the marina today, I can envision this road here, just this drive-by being really special with all the expanded prop work out here. And then just a little glimpse of it. We could use intersection marking tool for this, to be honest. This is a point where it would work. So we'll change this to decorative network. I will stick with my oil fence, of course. Let's just shift him off the road. We'll invert the network as well, so actually no, yeah, let's have it that way, so the spikes are facing forward. Then apply between intersections. Cool, I'll just take it down there. I can copy this segment. It should work on the same 2-lane road. No, it's going to be awkward about it, of course it is. That's okay. Do the same again. Cool. And then, no, not delete. We want to apply between intersections. Cool. And I think even just to complement that a little bit further, we'll come in with some of our classic build guide overgrown, which is basically just all the small trees together. If you do want my exact forest brush templates, you can find the XML file for these pinned in the Discord server. It will give you all of my forest brushes exactly. But I'd advise you make your own, to be honest. I often get a lot of people asking me what the brush is, but I think it's fun just to make your own, really. Nice if you like mine, but I think you can come up with your own quite fun forest. A couple of trees around this. Occasional live oak and birch and alders, etc. Yeah, just this little strip of industry on the way into the city that's clearly servicing this large tourism marina over here. Which does feel like a good point for a detailing time-lapse. Now we have the bulk of this in. I want to finish off the residential. Some prop work around all the back of these spaces, especially around the foot of this skyscraper plaza. And then adding the rest of the marinas, of course, in the same style that we've talked about over here. Also detail up the beach, and I think eventually, obviously we have the tile boundary right here, don't we? How far in the water is it? Ooh, yeah, I was thinking maybe I could bring a ferry stop around here. Ferries will continue to play an important role this side, but I can't bring them in yet. Not sure which way we'll run them, because right now we're having them going back in 2. Is So he has to have another ferry come around here. Seems a bit stupid because this is a much shorter transition to take a bus or a monorail. Maybe we'll have more ferries going back into this peninsula over here from this nightlife district. Not sure on that one. It'll probably take a little bit of planning. But either way, let's detail up our wonderful Sapphire Nightlife and Tourism Marina, and then we'll be right back. Detaling review, shall we? This turned out to be possibly one of my favourite stretches of city we've done in any city, which is big words, I realise. Across our beachfront, I've used surface painter to actually remove the surface off of the walking pathway, thus turning it invisible, allowing people to walk on the sand as such. And of course, lots of prop work here. Sand is very bright, isn't it? Right in the sun. But loads of prop work with sun loungers, umbrellas, etc. Some bars, shops and markets right along the seafront here for sun loungers to grab something to eat should they wish. With lots of commercial in around. You'll notice there's some larger towers here. These were zonings that grew in, but I don't mind them. Kind of big hotels that are part of this complex, so I actually decided to leave them in. Some green cities, waterfront apartments alongside here, alongside lots of office front services. Detail around the back of buildings, car parks snuck in. So just our usual approach to zoning and plopping, just using whichever technique I think where it's most appropriate. I really just love this waterfront. So many things to do, so many bars and hotels. The tourism districts are definitely more plopped. Like we did a little bit of this work in our time-lapse, more hotels. Great combinations of wall to wall here to allow these little courtyards to exist between the buildings. And then more hotels. Office space. Also parking, greenbelt by the beach. Volleyball, tennis of course, basketball, etc. And then a little plaza, detailed up with simple statue and bench work. More tropical gardens around the foot of possibly the most important office on the waterfront, right? This thing really has its own space to breathe and sit within the road network. Really a lot of fun. One day we'll come back and finish the lighthouse when we hit 25 tiles and that side of the map opens up to us. Some node controller work all the way through here, which brings us around to our marina. I think I've accidentally moved those fountains. Must have had them selected with move it and something else, didn't I? They are supposed to be there. There you go. There's a fountain at the end of a cul-de-sac pedestrian road. And then of course this brings us around into the entrance on the marina, which I absolutely adore. I decided to lower the nodes on the marinas a little bit just so they were close to the water, which I think is definitely a good bit of advice there. And then these European roads, little streets, pathways, whatever they're called, walkways, just work so nicely for a pier, don't they? Super happy with this. And of course it's getting use. People walking back on both layers. At the sandstone are left on the end, but then brought the zoo tile all the way around. It does pop out of the LOD. If you zoom out enough, it actually disappears because it is a prop. But you can keep it there. At certain distances, it'll be fine. Hello. Isn't that awesome? Absolutely perfect timing. The monorail passes over. I will check out the station in a second, but a moment to appreciate the cohesive waterfront of blend of University City. Heart of Korea is present on the corner here. Shops of Shibuya is in here. Latest content creator pack, of course. Lots of tourism, nightlife. Our hotels embed in really nicely, don't they? Yeah, I'm just an enormous fan of it, really. Absolutely enormous fan of it. Really just like this whole stretch of city from coast to coast might be one of my favourite bits we've ever made. Service points at the end are blended in alongside a fishing harbour, which you'll notice is really just sending boats in here, so, you know, it looks like boats are coming and going from the marina is the aesthetic. I'm not trying to specifically pretend they're actually fishing here. That'll probably be a bit weird. They probably go out to sea to do that rather than doing it in the marina. But aesthetically, it gives us moving boats, which I think is such a bonus for this build, isn't it? Especially when you get in those very specific layers right there, right? Super good stuff. Also stuck in one of the boats. This is one of the ploppables from the boat museum. If you're wondering what that big steamboat is there on the end. And I just adore it. This whole waterfront park space just flows so nicely along this land, doesn't it? Up here, the fishing harbour sits with retaining wall. As our national networks evolve into asymmetrical in varying different configurations and different types of road at this intersection. It was getting a little bit busy just with the 2-lane. So a little bit of one more lane, bro. Is currently handling traffic needs. This suburb, of course, will continue to grow up this side, so this will be stressed further. And they won't have another access road unless we bring possible ramps off of the interchange here. But I'm planning for a lot of this to be very exotic park front using some fun assets, so not really sure I want a highway interchange in it. We'll have to do some planning and testing with the road networks regardless, just to see how much we can stress them. So I really love this. And all our Green Cities residential flows back toward Main Street. Just growing out this suburb and ever-increasing Illium's population. With our monorail station, hopefully getting some good use as we approach it here. Not too bad at all. Let's have a look what we're getting per week. 233 in this line right here. Is getting taken care of. There's not too many crazy busy stops. But there's definitely got some good amount of usage on the vehicles here. So fun to see that coming together. And then our bus stops as well, of course, are getting plenty of use. Both in and around the town. And then, of course, back at last episode's bus hub, which will always take time to check out here. But this should be getting increasingly busy as we also check the ridership on this. It being 400 and something then, was it, before it dropped? But plenty of use on all forms of transit, of course, as we add possibly up to 7 more bus lines to this. This will increasingly just get crazy, crazy busy. We'll definitely send another one up to Tourism Park. Then we'll definitely be sending a few out of this way as well. So I really want to make sure we use all the bus stands here, because I reckon with so much stuff around this, we can probably get this to throw out some pretty crazy numbers, which will be a lot of fun. But either way, that does leave a fire here, which I don't think we put a fire station, did we? Which is a timely reminder, but there's one over in Arcus Hills in the town here. They should be able to get to it. But a thoroughly enjoyable nightlife waterfront build, and one of my favourites we've ever done in this theme, frankly. The extra freedom given by the mods allows us to do some super interesting thing with the official asset, so I hope we managed to take some inspiration from it. And we're really seeing that monorail come into its own now, aren't we? This is just one of many lines of it we'll see run and snake all the way across Illium as well. Thank you for supporting CS1 continually. I'm glad you're still enjoying it on the channel. If indeed you'd like to help support that, you can join Patreon or YouTube membership. And a shout out to those golden patron eggs: Zeno, Spartan Angel, Michael W, Bad Wolf, Louis Adlam, Phoenix MD, Blythe, Jamin, and Great T. Thank you so much, guys, for your incredible support in particular. You're all insane. As this is episode 10, the save file is updated and now public. If you want access to every save file, you can find that over on Patreon if you're interested. But I'll shut up and leave it there. Let's thank you all so much indeed for watching. And as always, enjoy the rest of your day.